We're on the phone with Alan Watt. Alan, we have so many points to get through, so we're just going to shoot a bunch of questions at you. Maybe you can just fill in people quickly and then encourage them to watch your DVD because it's very informational. Alan, the privatization of municipal services, we see it happening everywhere. What does that have to do with this New World Order and globalization project?
But again, it was explained by Professor Carroll Quigley, who was a member of the Council on Foreign Relations and the historian for them. And he said that the up-and-coming system is to be a new feudal system where the feudal overlords will be the CEOs of international corporations. And by that, he meant that they would run everything that the average person needs to live: food, water, clothing, heating, housing, and so on. It's also to go into the United Nations Biodiversity Treaty, where they've set up Agenda 21, the agenda for the 21st century. They want to start moving people en masse out of their land and the rural areas, put them into the already overcrowded city as a temporary phase as they bring down the populations. And then for the elite wealthy class, they have their dachshunds in the country, these ultra-modern high-tech homes with solar heating and all the rest of it, as they go through a step-by-step process for 3 generations.
Alan, how are they going to do this? I mean, who's going to grow their food for them? If these people, how is that going to happen?
Not only that, but Alan, have you heard about, we had a gentleman called Bill Ryan on back a couple of weeks ago, and he said he heard from a Norwegian parliamentary minister that they're building underground bunkers to protect the elite of the country and letting the citizens fend for themselves. Have you heard anything about that?
Yes, they've been. Margaret Thatcher, in fact, was under the microscope back in the 1980s about the same thing when it was disclosed by Man Alive program investigative team that Britain was doing the same thing for the wealthy elite. And they questioned Thatcher about it, and she said, yes, we do have these underground homes where those who are necessary for the survival and continuity of government and the race will go to survive for however long it might be. It could be 100, 200 years, if need be. And so that's been admitted. She also admitted that no member of the public that wasn't approved would get in. They'd be shot by members of the Special Air Service who would guard the entrances.
But I still don't know how these wealthy people, they can't do anything for themselves. Who's going to work for them? I mean, if everybody's shoved in these cities and they're decreasing the population, it kind of defeats the purpose, doesn't it?
Not really, no. You have to understand the big scope here. When they talk about post-humanist era, and it's all over the science magazines now and universities, and you look at the transhumanist agenda, and look at the world meetings they're having, they're talking about a new type of more efficient worker, humanoid type, which they're going to create, just like Aldous Huxley's Brave New World. Yeah. They have the means to do it. They've been experimenting with it. And they believe that once they come out of some crisis, whether it's man-made or otherwise, probably will be man-made with pandemics and so on, according to Brown. He's boasting that these plagues are definitely coming soon and are going to wipe out a lot of the people. Then they hope to then create scientifically more perfected slaves, and they've written lots about it. They've had world meetings on this at Loyola University, even to do with the brain chipping of the entire population during this transition process from humanist to post-humanist agenda.
So, wow, that's amazing. How do these secret societies fit into this? We have Freemasons and, of course, the Skull and Bones and all that. Are they an active part of this, or are they like a cover?
Most of them are a cover. They've always used charitable institutions at the bottom. It isn't until you dig into them in a deeper level that most of these philanthropic organizations have an actual intergenerational agenda. And see, we think in very short-term planning. We think in our lifetime what we can accomplish. These characters wrote 300-odd years ago, and even longer. John Dee wrote about a coming world system. He called it the British Empire. He coined the term, including free trade, etc., across the planet, and how they'd bring every country in the world under it by force if necessary. Yeah. That was in the 16th century.
Alan, can you hear me?
Yes.
We banter around the word Illuminati quite a bit. I mean, is this organization really, in fact, out there running things, or do we just use the word as a blanket for everybody in the elite?
It's a blanket term today, but if you go into the Oxford dictionaries, the old ones, they'll tell you that the term Illuminati was first used in the 15th century, and then down through the centuries. And the illumined ones, in other words, are those who believe they're the highest evolved species on the planet, and they have high intellect, and therefore they do believe they have the right to rule the rest of the people and do with them as they please. It's an elitist, psychopathic organization, in fact. But the secret societies, there's no doubt whatsoever they've had a hand in this, and I have many of their old books.
Right.
And when you go into it, the eugenics programs that we now hear about, we call them bioethics committees now since World War II, because eugenics got a bad name during Hitler's reign, and so they call it bioethics. These worldwide bioethics committees are working on eugenics and the creation of new superhumans, more perfected humans, etc. And life extension, but not to be given to everyone, only for those who are worthy and deserve it.
On your something I listened to on your website, you had a word called pathocracy. What does that mean?
Pathocracy is the nature of evil, because in times gone by, even the ancient Greeks talked about what was it was called pornerology and pathocracy. Pathocracy is really a hierarchy ruling the world of psychopaths, inbred psychopaths. Now, Plato talked about this 2,300 odd years ago, and he said that we, the aristocracy, he was a member then, who interbreed, and they had their mates selected for special qualities and the accumulation of wealth to prove that they were superior. He said we always turn out similar types of offspring with same natures and same abilities. And here we have, down through thousands of years, people who have accumulated incredible wealth through cunning and guile, but basically they're psychopathic. They don't have natural human compassion. We know this in the business world. It's been written about recently too, that many of the bosses who get up to the top in the business world, the cutthroat ones, are psychopaths by nature. They thrive in a commercialized society because they can claw their way up, get rid of anyone standing in their way, and they have no
feelings about it. Yep, that's right.
Now, this line of these people in the world, Alan, who belong to these organizations or who could be Illuminati members. I mean, if you have a certain amount of money, can you join? Can you become part of the elite crowd?
Yes, much of it is very old money, and that was part of the prerequisites. It isn't simply a matter of winning the national lotto or the Irish sweepstake. You've got to have the culture and what they call the breeding.
Okay, got it.
You use the term breeding, good breeding, for 200-300 years very openly.
Where do the Freemasons fit into this?
Century.
Alan, where do the Freemasons fit in?
The Freemasons are... they seem very innocuous when you first look at what they're about, until you go into their higher workings, their higher sources, and they themselves are Illuminati, all members who are born again in the ritual of being born again are members technically of the Illuminati, but then so are professors and people inside universities, because you're part of the alumni, the illumined ones. Right. The name came out and became very popular with conspiracy buffs over Adam Weishaupt. Now, he was only in charge of one branch of Freemasonry, and he took the heat for an agenda that really was throughout all of Masonry, and it's still on today, to perfect man himself. They're left to perfect that which the builders left imperfect. That's man himself, to rebuild him.
Okay, Alan, we're going to have to take a commercial break. When we come back, I want to talk. There's so much going on in Tibet right now. The oppression by the Chinese of the Tibetan, and there's even talk of the Dalai Lama bowing out because of this. But this has much deeper roots than just these episodes that are going on right now. We'll be right back with Alan Watt.